Coming up, we see how Tzu Chi helps a Malaysian flood survivor regain his smile. Tzu Chi volunteers in the Philippines offer aid and comfort to fire victims in Metro Manila. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Mary Lee. Thank you for joining us. We start the first part of our program with various reports regarding the worst flooding the east coast of Malaysia has seen in a third of a century. In the aftermath of the flooding, the Tzu Chi Foundation has been providing different types of assistance to help flood survivors regain their footing in life. First, we traveled to Kuala Lumpur, Pahang, to see how Tzu Chi's Cash for Work program has helped a 14-year-old participant regain his smile.
Waiting anxiously in line to participate in Tzu Chi's Cash for Work program in Kuala Lumpur, Pahang is 14-year-old Azri Firdaus. It's 14-year-old Azri Firdaus and his 12-year-old brother. Upon seeing the brothers, the volunteers tried to get a better understanding of their situation.
We can't go inside the house right now because it is still unclean.
Currently, the family has no income as the breadwinners are out of work due to a car accident and the recent flood.
I kept 50 ringgits for myself and gave 50 ringgits to my mother. Now she has money to purchase items for my siblings.
In spite of the foul odors coming out from the debris, Azri Firdaus and his brothers still give it their all.
We didn't ask the children to carry out such laborious tasks. We told the brothers that they only needed to do simple jobs, but they still insisted on working alongside the adult participants and us Tzu Chi volunteers.
Under the volunteers' guidance and love, Azri Firdaus has slowly put his sorrows behind him and regained his smile.
He joined the Cash for Work program for 3 days. He told me that he met a lot of people, including those from Taiwan. He said he saw himself on the TV too.
Now with their home clean and tidy once again, Azri Firdaus and his family finally can move back home. Tima doctors also make it a point to check on Azri Firdaus' father as soon as they arrive in Kuala Lumpur, Pahang. Although Tzu Chi's Cash for Work program has come to an end, the volunteer support has brought warmth and courage to Azri Firdaus.
Malaysian Tzu Chi volunteer Yang Jinglian was among the many thousands that saw their homes inundated following the worst flooding in Malaysia. Despite the problems at home, the kind volunteer has put the concerns of others first, helping to ensure that Tzu Chi Cash for Work program in her community was a success before turning her attention homewards. Yang says that as long as she has her Tzu Chi Dharma family, there is little else she needs.
I need to find a bulldozer. That, right now, is the most important thing.
Here in Kuala Lumpur, Tzu Chi volunteer Yang Jinglian runs through streets strewn with garbage on a mission to find a bulldozer to help speed up the Tzu Chi-sponsored Cash for Work cleanup. In fact, Yang lives here in Kuala Lumpur, and her home was one of hundreds flooded.
My lamp of the heart and e-book got waterlogged. There was no way to save them as the waters got deeper and deeper and I couldn't get in. I was only able to save a few important things, like my Tzu Chi backpack and name tag. I have found this item from Master Zhenyan. I hope this disaster brings us peace and that there will be no more disasters to follow.
Despite the damage in her own home, Yang put her energies into helping those around her get the food and supplies needed to recover. And with the arrival of a Tzu Chi disaster survey team from Kuala Lumpur, Yang was no longer alone in her mission.
If I was not a part of Tzu Chi, I really don't know what I would do. I would feel helpless. Being part of Tzu Chi, I have the Dharma, the Master's Dharma, and her blessings in my life.
Busy helping run the Cash for Work program, Yang forgets that she herself was also a victim.
I need to first ensure the cash reward program stays on track. My house can wait. It's no rush. We are now going to truck out the garbage.
Seeing Yang so selflessly put others in front of her own needs, the volunteers from Kuala Lumpur later gathered to help Yang clean up her home. It is such care from her Dharma family that has Yang in tears.
I am content. I have the love of Tzu Chi. Except for that, I don't need anything else.
Coming up in July of this year, the Tzu Chi Kuala Lumpur chapter will put on a musical adaptation of the Water Repentance Sutra. Recently, 9 volunteers in charge of teaching the sign language movements arrived in Malacca to check on the onstage volunteers' progress.
Good, I can see the pattern of your formations. What's important next is to make sure all the movements are correct and not sloppy.
For the past 2 months, on-stage volunteers in Malacca and Seremban have been practicing for the musical adaptation of the Water Repentance Sutra. Today, their months of effort are put to the test.
It is great to see that everyone has worked really hard. I can tell that they put in a lot of effort in preparing for the musical.
在准备今天的这个验收。
Ling Jiahua, who is in charge of teaching the sign language, patiently corrects the volunteers' movements.
I will work even harder to make sure I know all the movements by heart. I will keep practicing until all the movements are correct.
To convey the message of the Dharma to their audience, on-stage volunteers have to make sure the movements are flawless.
We need to use our voices and gestures to pass on the Dharma to those in the audience. All the movements need to be correct and not sloppy.
In the months ahead, the on-stage volunteers will continue to practice hard to make sure they put on solemn yet beautiful performance.
To keep residents warm and fed during the harsh winter weather, Tzu Chi's winter relief distribution continues in China. This year, volunteers in Fuding decided to hold distributions of a smaller scale in each village out of concern for the distance most residents have to travel. For those who were unable to make it to the distribution venue, volunteers brought the aid right to their doorsteps. This year, volunteers were also joined by a group of doctors from the Tzu Chi hospitals in Taiwan who, if not lending their assistance with moving the relief supplies, were tending to the health of aid recipients. First, however, we joined Tzu Chi's winter distribution over in Yunnan's Fuming County.
Cooking oil, rice, warm clothing and relief items offered much needed help for these residents in Yunnan.
You have weathered hands. Your skin also looks yellowish.
These weathered hands actually belong to 12-year-old Zhang Haibing, who lost his parents when young and has been taken in by his grandparents.
Although he doesn't have a father or mother, he is a very thoughtful child. I hope that when he grows up, he will be filial to us. I am happy that you are caring for us farmers.
Free medical checkups were also provided to residents. Serving those in desolate corners of society, Gao Yuwen from Taiwan's Darling Tzu Chi Hospital is fulfilling her mission as a medical personnel.
Even though it is really cold, I can feel the warmth beaming through their smiles. Through the process of helping others, I also realize how fortunate I am.
This affinity between volunteers and residents founded on love is sure to be an everlasting one.
This is inflamed. You are suffering from gout.
Superintendent of Taiwan's Guanshan Tzu Chi Hospital, Pan Yongqian, is one of the participants of Tzu Chi's winter aid distribution in Fuding. An orthopedic specialist, when not busy helping out with the heavy lifting, Superintendent Pan is checking up on the health of locals.
The condition for many of the villagers here is very similar to that of residents in Taidong's Guanshan. Many seniors here are living in extreme hardship. I came across an octogenarian living on his own, and I am really impressed that he is able to take such good care of himself.
Unlike the large-scale distributions in previous years, this year volunteers decided to organize distributions of a smaller scale in each respective village, so residents needn't travel far distances and medical personnel can easily tend to their medical needs.
We have broadened participation to include medical staff this year. When we come across residents who are ill, doctors will jump in and tend to their illness. When they are not busy tending to patients, they are helping out at the distribution.
Having waited 7 years for this opportunity to participate in the winter relief distribution, Taichung Tzu Chi Hospital doctor Ling Yingchao discovered he had a torn retina and had to undergo laser surgery just prior to his departure for China. Now in recovery, Ling was not going to give up the opportunity this time around.
Although China's economy has seen rapid development over the past decade, however, there remain many in remote areas living in hardship and struggling to make ends meet. These distributions really open up our eyes to their suffering and help us realize our own blessings.
Situated in the mountains, Chayang village is mostly inhabited by the elderly, as young people have left the village to seek work in cities. 14-year-old Ling Liqing is here to collect aid on behalf of her grandmother.
I want to thank you for helping me. I want to reciprocate. Although I am not able to contribute financially, I will, however, repay this kindness through action.
These forgotten villages in Fuding are filled with extra warmth this winter thanks to the loving kindness of Tzu Chi volunteers and doctors from Taiwan.
We begin the second segment of our program in the Philippines. In mid-January, 2 fires broke out in Metro Manila, one in Quezon City's Pasong Tamo community, the other in Tondo. In both areas, Tzu Chi volunteers' timely arrival and assistance brought much comfort and reassurance to the fire victims.
The fire, which broke out in Pasong Tamo community, burned 25 houses to the ground. Local volunteers immediately formed a disaster assessment team to survey the extent of damage. Having previously distributed stationery and school supplies at the local school, Tzu Chi volunteers are no strangers to the needs of this community.
This is our second time receiving Tzu Chi's assistance. My child is a student here, so we've received Tzu Chi's help in the past. When we found out you volunteers were coming to help us, we were very relieved.
Thank you so much.
A distribution was organized inside a local school. The aid was just what the residents needed to help them get through this difficult time.
It is very true that our spare change can help others in need.
I signed up as a volunteer because I wanted to help members of my community. It's our obligation. And also, I cannot do this alone.
While in Tondo, 160 families have also been left homeless by a recent fire. Standing where her home once used to be, Sally worries how she will rebuild.
It was terrible. When we returned homes after the fires were put out, everything was gone. This is where we grew up.
Responding to the needs of these fire victims, volunteers returned the following day with straw mats, daily necessities, and 10-kilogram bags of rice. Starting over doesn't seem so difficult anymore.
We no longer have to worry where our next meal will come from. Tzu Chi has given us all that we need.
Next, we turn our focus to another devastating fire, but in Taoyuan, Taiwan. Early morning on January 20th, a massive fire broke out in a local bowling alley, dispatching over 89 firefighters and 39 fire trucks. The Taoyuan Fire Department spared no man for this job. though the fire was later contained. In the line of duty, 6 firefighters, all in their 20s, lost their lives. Later, we bring you a detailed look at 2 of that band of brothers. First, a report on the fire's devastation and what the city government is planning to do to prevent such a tragedy from happening again in the future.
A fierce blaze broke out at a bowling alley in Taoyuan, Taiwan, early morning of January 20th. The fire destroyed the building, leaving charred metal debris and twisted ceiling boards in its wake. While fighting to contain the fire, 6 firefighters lost their lives.
Our squad leader notified the team to retreat 2 or 3 times, but by the time the order reached them, it was too late. They were found 10 meters near the doorways by the stairway on the 2nd floor.
It is suspected that a sudden burst of flames caused the roof of the building to give way, which hindered their escape. According to the Taoyuan Fire Department, they received a report of the fire at 2:02 a.m. Reaching the scene of the bowling alley, they worked to contain and put out the flames. At 2:52 a.m., the smoke grew thicker and increasingly dangerous. The team was then ordered to retreat. Shortly after, an explosion occurred and the roof collapsed. The mayor of Taoyuan, Zheng Wencang, came to pay his condolences at the Xingwu branch and promised to increase the safety of public structures.
This building received its building license in 1994. In 1997, it was reported for illegal construction, and records indicate that the illegal part was torn down in 1998. However, it is obvious that the structure continued operations with the illegal constructions. We'll look into why the bowling alley was allowed to continue to operate and why the illegal constructions were not properly torn down. These are all problems we will get to the bottom of.
To ease the financial burden of the 6 families, the Taoyuan government offered a high sum of approximately $60,000 to each firefighter's family to help with funeral arrangements. Meanwhile, in Kaohsiung, Zhen Chongren's 82-year-old grandmother has no more tears left. One of the 6 firefighters that lost his life in the bowling alley blaze, Zhen Chongren was known as a filial son.
He would help his parents do farm work as they have a plot of land. He was a good son, very filial.
A good student since young, 27-year-old Zhen Chongren became a firefighter like his father.
He became interested most likely because his father was a firefighter too.
Another of the 6 firefighters found dead was Cai Changrong, who was merely 21.
Whenever he got off from work, he would come home to visit his parents.
Growing up in Pingdong, Cai Changrong studied at the Taiwan Police College because his father was in the military. Losing their lives in the line of duty, the 6 young firefighters and others like them have selflessly put their lives at risk for the safety of others.
In light of the recent tragedy in Taiwan, the following prepared series of reports on honoring firefighters now stands as a tribute to the 6 young men who lost their lives in the bowling alley fire. Next, we follow the Taichung City Fire Department on their mission of safeguarding the lives of the citizens of the area and see why no job is too big or small.
1 minute after a call for help comes in, firefighters are ready to go.
这是多久内要完成？
就出动这样子，
越快越好。
对，越快越好。
In times of disaster, every second counts.
This is a part of our job. When others are running away from the disaster, we need to run towards it.
Due to the nature of their job, firefighters and danger go hand in hand, and firefighters often find it's hard to predict what they might encounter.
We hope our colleagues don't go off on their own. They should head out in teams of 2 or 3.
Perhaps it's because of the ease of access to firefighters that they are often called to carry out strange jobs, such as capturing bees, snake wrangling, monkey removal, and even untrapping household pets from ceilings.
Working hours are longer than the times we spend with our family. Most of the time, we take 1 day off for every 2 days.
赶快出动，救护！这是发生案件的地图，它刚刚有显示车祸的案件。
As accidents happen in a moment's notice, firefighters are on constant alert.
听到什么路名，因为我们其实都有在背地图。
Often we come across civilians who act out, but we need to understand that they are emotionally unstable in that moment.
Risking their lives to strangers with each emergency call, firefighters are always racing against time. Despite the danger of the job, the firefighters heed their call of duty and continue to safeguard us all.
救灾工作是蛮繁重的工作，救这个区块。
Whether putting out fires or saving lives, it's all about helping people.
Taking you behind the scenes at the Year-End Blessing ceremony in Shanchong, we introduced 2 hardworking volunteers. One found a new home in Tzu Chi after losing a close friend in a plane crash last year. The other has seen her personality change for the better since participating in a suture performance. In preparation for their year-end blessing ceremony, volunteers diligently rehearse their parts. Among the participants is Chen Yu Mei, who has taken the Dharma to heart and changed her entire demeanor for the better.
I once added some herbs to the soup. My in-laws weren't too familiar with them, so they asked what it was and why I added so much of it. Offhandedly, I said to them, "It's not going to kill you."
In the past, if I spoke 1 word, she would shoot back with about 7 or 8. Now she is more soft-spoken and will only reply when necessary.
This change was a result of a chance encounter with a DaAi drama.
Seeing how giving the volunteers were towards each other, I thought, why aren't I like that towards my own mother?
Also helping to prepare for the year-end blessing ceremony is this group of volunteers. Last year, Liu Luoxuan lost a classmate in the Trans-Asia plane crash in Penghu, and it was Tzu Chi who helped her see that there was still hope.
The volunteer said to me, "Don't reject us. These are the blessings your friend accumulated in life, because even though your friend doesn't know us, this tragedy brought us together and we are here to help."
No longer wasting her time on video games, being a volunteer has filled Liu Luoxuan's previous idle life with meaning.
We return to Malaysia at the end of the show to help residents affected by the historic flood that hit the country. The Penang Chinese Chamber of Commerce generously donated over $63,000 to the Tzu Chi Foundation to help with the recovery efforts. We will leave you with these images. Thank you for watching DaAi Headlines. Goodbye.